Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chiquis and Chill. I have some very exciting news to share. So Apple Podcasts has this program called Spotlight. Basically, they pick one podcast they love and highlight it for an entire month so that more people can find it. That's right. Apple's editorial team listens to thousands of podcasts, and they chose Chiquis and Chill. It's the first iHeart podcast to be highlighted, so I'm super excited about this. So if it's your first time listening to the show, welcome, and I'm so happy you're here. And if you've been with me for a while, you know how I feel about you. Los amo. Chiquis and Chill is my comfort zone. I talk about anything and everything. Since I have you here, I wanted to remind you of some of my favorite episodes. We have one on cheating and betrayal, losing my mom Jenny, and a really important one with my fertility doctor on freezing my eggs. And of course, I've had interviews with some special guests, so be sure to check those out too. New episodes drop every Monday, you guys. Rate, subscribe to Chiquis and Chill. Don't forget. Now, let's start the show. This is why I feel it's a little bit more quote unquote normal to a certain extent, you know, still in like our Latino families. Having children later on in life is kind of like, pues ya se te pasó el tren, güey.
It was therapy during the pregnancy and then after pregnancy because of postpartum. And yes, it is something that we don't talk about. My mom would be like, no, pues para de que tengas hijos, ya no voy a poder ni caminar. And I would just think, I really want my parents around when I have children, you know? But then I thought I had plenty of time.
Hola, hola, mi gente. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo están todos? How is everyone doing? I'm feeling pretty good. It's another day. I get to tape my Chiquis and Chill podcast, so I'm very happy. Today, we're talking about family values in the Latinx community and some of the pressures that come along with that. This is something I know a lot of people have experienced, and I have the perfect guest for this episode. So let's jump right into it. This is Chiquis and Chill. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Evelyn Sicairos. She's a good friend of mine, and I call her Mi Nalgona Hermosa. And she's also an on-air personality. So, Mi Nalgona Hermosa, Evelyn, how are you?
I am so happy to be part of your podcast. I love that, you know, you always take the time to invite me and to include me to all your amazing projects. And I just always learn so much from you. So thank you for having me. And I love your audience too, and I hope we can all just grow together.
Thank you, my love. No, it's a pleasure. I love what you do. You're good at it. So I was like, I have to have my Evelyn on there because of the topic, obviously. But before we get there, just for those that may not know who you are, Evelyn Sicairos, explain to me who you are, where you grew up, or explain to us, más bien, where you from, your family, and also how did you get into like the media space?
So I grew up in El Sereno, which is Northeast LA. I come from a Mexican family. My parents both are from Sinaloa, a state in Mexico. I grew up at home speaking Spanish. I actually went to school, El Sereno Elementary, El Sereno Middle. I stayed in the same community till basically I went to college. But at home, we would just speak Spanish. That was my first language. And back then, there was like some type of law where you were able to have Spanish classes till like, I was in Spanish classes till like third grade. So I learned how to read, write, and speak Spanish before English. So in fourth grade, it was like, okay, now it's all English. And I was so scared. I was like, how is this going to work?
Same.
But now I'm so grateful for that because at home, it's always been Spanish. At school, you know, the first years, it was all Spanish. So I think that's helped me in my career now. I grew up very proud of it. But then when I got to middle school, I was a little ashamed of like my dad pulling up, dropping me off at school, listening to like Los Cadetes de Linares. I'll be like, ay, déjame en la esquina, por favor. No. And then you grow up that way. And I when I talk to young kids, I'm like, it's normal. Even to parents now, I'm like, it's normal. We all go through that phase where we're like, can we just kind of blend in with everything, with culture? But once you grow up, you're proud of it. So I grew up proud of it. And then kind of like, I just want to listen to NSYNC and, you know, Backstreet Boys and Britney Spears. And then once I got to college, I went to Cal State Northridge. I really was just so proud of our food, of our music. I, you know, was proud of saying where my parents were from. And it's just a beautiful thing. And I think it's now that I'm older, I embrace it more.
And what did you major in?
Political science.
Ah.
So I wanted to be an immigration lawyer. So when I first graduated from Cal State Northridge, I actually worked at the courthouse for a few years, helping people with cases of divorce, domestic violence. And I loved it at first. And there was so much need for help. So I always felt like, what if my parents needed this? I want to be that person that helps. But then it got to a point where I was like, all right, I'm over it. Like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I got to a point where I'm like, I'm never going to get married. Like, people just end up fighting over the dogs and like the sofas. So I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
And I ended up starting to help a friend with her PR company. And then she started just having me organize her files. And from there, like the next week, I was writing media alerts and PR like releases. And I was like, I really like this. And she had artists that, you know, she's like, okay, they have a red carpet, like go walk with them. And I'm like, all right, like I can do that. So I kind of got to see the industry. And así fue como empecé. Y pues terminé ahí. Yo pensé que me iban a dar un trabajo de oficina en Univision, de hecho. They ended up giving me, 3 to 7 p.m. radio LA for regional Mexican. But it's because, again, I love the music. When you grow up around music all the time, I mean, you just know the sounds. Like, ay, mira, eso se escucha fregón.
Sí. It becomes part of you.
Sí, no, el acordeón y que en la familia todo el mundo que toca un instrumento, en cada fiesta se sube alguien a cantar. Yo en verdad nunca he tenido voz. I wish, pero no, nunca. O sea, me gusta lo de la música, pero sé que lo mío es más el gozarla y el disfrutarla.
Y bailar. I love it. La verdad no me la sabía esa, that's how you started. That's freaking dope. That's interesting. And now you're a mommy.
I am.
And a wifey.
Yes.
Oh.
The pandemic totally changed all of us, I feel, in different ways. And in my case, I think I was on the go, 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 go. Yes, for work. I'll travel here. I'll do this. Yes, I'll cover that. No problem. And I was working a lot. And I'm glad I got to do that. But then when the pandemic came, I was like, all right, I'm 30-something. I'm not going to say how old I am, but I'm 30-something. And you and I had already been talking about freezing our eggs and this and that. And, you've been very open and vocal about that situation. So I was like, you know what? Like, let me know, Chiquis, how that goes. Because I think I might do it. And then the pandemic comes and I was like, I really want to have kids. Like, this is it. Like, I want to have a family.
So it's planned.
In my head it was, and my partner's it wasn't.
Love it.
Because for me it was important. To me it was like, I'm ready. Like, I want this. And so when the opportunity, well, not the opportunity, but when it was the right timing, it happened. And now I'm a mom and work was priority. Now my child is priority.
Your child. And we talk about it a lot because you're like, it's a lot juggling being, a mother that works. Did you wait later to have children later on in life? Was it intentional? Was it because you were just more career oriented?
I just don't think I ever met like the right person that was like in the right state of mind for me to actually say, wow, I can see myself having a child with this person. And I think with, my current husband, because we got married during the pandemic too, we just got along in the professional level, and he actually believes in me and supports what I do. So he was always very like, oh yeah, go to that concert. Yeah, that interview. And other people that I dated were always kind of jealous. Like, wait, you got too close to that artist. So I kind of was like, all right, with this guy, I can really do it because he believes in me and he knows what I do for a living and he respects what I do for a living. I'm around a bunch of guys all the time, and for someone to have the confidence to be okay with it. So I think I didn't do it before because of that, because I think it's very important. And now more than ever, I tell people, equivóquense en casi todo, menos en con quién van a tener un hijo. Because it's honestly the most important job I think I will ever have. He is now my responsibility to raise a little boy who is happy, who believes in himself, who respects others. Like, the world we live in, this generation of children is going to change what's happening. So it's up to us, the new parents, the people having kids now, to raise kids that are loving, that are empathetic. That's exactly what I need. So I feel like there's a lot on my plate right now. Apenas cumplí un año. And
That's what I was going to tell you. You celebrated his first year.
His first year, and my first year as a mom too, because I'm a whole different person now. You know, I'm postpartum, and I've told you this before. Postpartum really got me good the first 10 months.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't talk about it. There's postpartum depression and postpartum like anxiety. And you say postpartum, people think, oh, she was depressed. People do get that. In my case, I didn't get to that point, but I was scared of everything. So it's only been a few months that I started feeling better. And now I'm scared of having another one. But that's why I said I was good with one. And now that all of those feelings kind of are balanced, I'm like, okay, do I want to have a second child? Because I'm getting older too. I'm glad I waited because now I'm in the right state of mind. Priority is my child, but now having a second child, like how am I going to balance? Am I just going to go crazy? I don't know how moms did it before, having 5, 6, 10.
Dude, my mom, 5 kids. No mames. I don't know. I think times have changed. And this is why I feel that it's a little bit more quote unquote normal to a certain extent, you know, still in like our Latino families. Having children later on in life is kind of like, pues ya se te pasó el tren, güey. Ya estás muy vieja. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, like you are in a good state of mind where you're like, okay, I want to raise a good little human.
Yes.
Versus when we're younger, we're still trying to raise ourselves. You know what I mean? Which is why I'm like, what's wrong with having kids later on in life? One thing that really caught like my attention right now was postpartum, because again, especially in our community, it's not spoken about enough.
No.
It's kind of like a taboo. It's you're being weak. A lot of men, because I've heard it even in my extended family, where it's like that shit doesn't exist. It's like depression. Like that, eso no es cierto. Eso nomás está en tu mente. O sea, levántate. No, you guys, it really, having a child, and I haven't had my own, but I lived it with my sister. Your hormones are out of whack for an entire year. And when the baby comes out, you're just like, imagine having a child, a growing child in your body for 9 months, and they come out and they take all your nutrients and you gave them everything. You feel a little depleted. Is that correct?
Very depleted. Like I said, your body, physical, emotional, spiritual, you are shaken completely. And a lot of these emotions are out of your control. So that's why it's so important. I mean, I seek therapy. I even did therapy during my pregnancy just because I was dealing with the whole, here's another thing, right? Like it was hard for me too, even though I was older and even though I'm independent and I've always had a job. My parents, like, no está casada y va a tener un hijo. For me, I was stressed over that. And I talked to my parents. I was like, listen, this is my choice. I've been wanting to have a child and I'm happy with the decision. You guys made your life choices and they were fine. But my dad, you could tell, was a little bothered. I mean, I was 35 already, you know? It was like, come on. So it takes a while for them because the culture is different. The mentality is different. And I was dealing with that. Like, okay, when I tell my parents that I'm pregnant, my mom was perfectly fine. When I tell them, how am I going to handle their reaction? I kid you not. I did go to therapy for that through my pregnancy.
No way.
And it helped me because when I did get a certain reaction, I was like, I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm at peace. He'll come back around. And he did.
They get over it. And then now I'm sure he's all in love with the baby.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Of course. Es más, tienen que hacer las cosas, quote unquote, bien. O cásense primero y luego tengan hijos. But, well, I'm assuming, like, yeah, you know, you got pregnant first and then you guys got married, right?
Yeah, we did. During the pregnancy, I was like, we don't have to do it just, you know, because I'm pregnant. And he's like, no, like, let's do it because when the baby's born, you have my last name and, you know, we're a married couple. And we were able to make decisions together at the hospital and thereafter, you know, now we're a family. Yeah. And so now it's like, oh, we should have a big wedding. And I'm like, you know what? I'm happy. Like, tenemos nuestra casita, nuestro niños, he's healthy. I'm getting back to my rhythm, back to kind of work, dealing with leaving the baby for a few hours. I still cried. This morning, no me tocó a mí irla a dejar. Me fui directo al trabajo de la casa. Y lloré porque me siento mal cuando lo dejo unas horas, porque te acostumbras tanto a estar con ellos that the moment you have to go back to work, I mean, I have friends that say they were really happy to go back to work because those hours give them like freedom and independence. In my case, I still struggle, you know, it hurts because you're like, what if he feels like I'm abandoning him?
No, yeah, I can just imagine.
So it was therapy during the pregnancy and then after pregnancy because of postpartum. And yes, it is something that we don't talk about. When it was happening to me, I was asking my cousins, like, why did you guys say this? Oh, because we don't want you to like start stressing over it during your pregnancy. But
no, we need to know these things.
yes.
Because then you probably think, imagine if we don't talk about it enough, then you think, oh my God, I'm going crazy. And like, I lived it with Jackie, my sister. I remember I was on the other side of the house and the baby was yelling on the top of her lungs. I was like, what is happening? I went to the room. The baby was in her little bassinet crying roja de estar llorando tanto. And this was her first child. And she was like, what, 21, I think it was? And no, actually 20 years old. And she was sitting on the floor and she was just like this face that I'll never forget and was looking at the floor. And she was just, and I'm like, Jackie, what's wrong? She's like, I don't know. Like not crying, nothing. She's like, I don't want her. Can we just take her to the fire station? I just can't do this. And that's when I heard about postpartum. Mm-hmm. And then my mom, when we said, she's like, oh, it's postpartum. It's normal. I'm like, hello? Yeah. Like, okay, well, tell us. You know what I mean? And it was a little bit more talked about. But thank goodness it just lasted a few months. But it's very real. And I think one day we need to have like a panel of women talking about postpartum because uno se siente y se lo vi. She says, I feel like I'm going crazy. I can't do this. My life is changing. It was just too much all at once. Her hormones were everywhere. So, you know, I do appreciate you sharing that porque pues la neta.
No, yo me metí a bañar. Yo no como al niño le daba mucho amor, mucho cariño, pero me metí a bañar y me soltaba llorando. I just felt like, okay, can I do this? Like, who am I? Do I still like the same things that I used to? Like, and it's hard because even now, I mean, the baby, like I said, he's 14 months now, but I still don't go out with friends. I still don't do things that I used to do all the time before. And I don't want to be that way. I want to be able to have a balance because you still want to hang on to the old you because you're fun and you felt free. But then you also love motherhood, you know, having a little mini you run around and, you know, someone that motivates you and it inspires you.
Yeah, it's all about balance. And it took my sister a while and I would have to tell her, go get your nails done. Little things. It doesn't have to be you leave the baby all night. I think it's cuestión de, you know, it's only been 14 months and little by little, you'll get the rhythm going. But before, like you had your baby boy, he's so cute, you guys. Did you feel pressure from your parents or from your family or your cousins? Like, ya apúrate.
I did. I felt a lot of pressure, but then it got to a point where they wouldn't even ask anymore. Like my mom would be like, no, pues para de que tengas hijos, ya no voy a poder ni caminar, ni corretearlos, ni agacharme. And I would just think, I really want my parents around when I have children, you know? But then I thought, I would think like, no, well, maybe it's not the right time. Although being in my mid-30s, I still felt like I had plenty of time. Mm-hmm. But I felt a lot of pressure since my 20s. And now all my girl cousins, les digo, the ones that are in their 20s, I'm like, no tengan hijos todavía. No, disfruten, salgan. Because I know I have nothing in my system. Obviously, there's like girls' trips that I would love to join. But I was able to do a lot of crazy things before having my baby. And so I don't regret anything. I think I did it at the perfect timing. I think I accomplished a lot in my career. I was able to experience and enjoy a lot of things and I dated a lot and I think it was a perfect timing. My mid-30s were the perfect timing for me. For some people, it's their late 30s. For some people, it's their early 40s now. I just think someone in their 20s, you should really discover and explore and learn and make mistakes, caerte y volverte a levantar. Porque hay tanto que ver en este mundo. Y cuando todavía no tienes un niño, you're free. Mm-hmm. You can do whatever you want and whatever you set your mind to. I'm a really firm believer that we are unstoppable, especially like Latina women. Man, we have everything going for ourselves.
Hell yeah.
I mean, power to everyone that had kids in their 20s. Pero si no tienen ahorita, disfruten y espérense que the best is yet to come.
Mm-hmm. Que no sientan esa presión de me tengo que casar a cierta edad. I mean, if that's your prerogative, more power to you. You know, if you want to get married young, I just, in my personal experience, I mean, growing up, my grandparents, especially because I was the oldest grandchild, it was, okay, pues ya tienes 24 años, o sea, ¿para cuándo los nietos? And I'm like, me decía mi tata, no me quiero morir sin ver a mis bisnietos. And I felt like a lot of pressure, like, but I'm like, oh my God, like I help my mom with the kids and how am I going to juggle it? And at a point, I'm like, well, okay, well, maybe I should, to please them. And personally, I'm glad that I didn't. I mean, it would have been a blessing regardless, but I'm glad that I waited, because the one that's gonna take care of the baby is me. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like, I'm glad, and I'm okay with now, because for a long time I felt guilty. I felt selfish. Someone in my family once told me, well, that's what you're here for. That's what you were made for, is for you to reproduce. And I'm like, excuse me, that's not all I am. You know what I mean? And now I'm like, I'm good with my decision. I'm probably going to be that girl that's going to have her baby in her late 30s, her early 40s. And I'm okay with that. That's like, I feel like the new thing, and it needs to be a little bit more normalized in our culture, because I see, because of that pressure, how many divorces there are, and because you marry the wrong person to please your family.
How many people stay in relationships for their children? So many people in the family that I know are miserable, but they're like, pues, me casé, tuve hijos, y pues estoy con él. Tías and tíos, you just see it in our culture so much, and people are miserable. For me, I'm in a good place where now I can say, you know what? I'm able to have my little casita for my child, pay for daycare. I'm able to give them the time. If I want to, I can travel with my child. There's no pressure from anyone anymore. It's kind of like, hacer lo que yo quiero hacer porque lo puedo hacer y punto.
Exacto. Te sientes más empoderada.
Claro.
¿No?
Y yo siento que cuando tú eres una mujer independiente, en mi caso, pues sí, fui a la universidad. I graduated, te dije, de Cal State Northridge. I always felt like I can get whatever job I want. I can go anywhere. We're bilingual too, man.
Yeah. It's a blessing.
We can do so many things. So many women with their own businesses now, So I feel like it's important to establish that. And then after that, it's okay to have kids after that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know right now in this moment if I can conceive ever, because of my endometriosis, because the last time I went to see my fertility doctor, he said that I have no sé qué madres, que I'm not producing enough eggs, y no sé qué tanto. I personally don't let that affect me, because, I believe in God, and I'm like, lo que Dios quiera, aunque tenga un huevito ahí, it's going to happen. If God wants me to get pregnant and have a child, I'm going to have it, no matter what doctors say. I'm curious to see what you have to say in regards to maybe women that can't conceive. Do you feel like adoption is an option? For me, there is, but in our culture, a lot of people are kind of like, how are you going to adopt someone that's a child that's not yours? What do you think about that?
I think that if people want to adopt, go for it. There's so many children that need the love, that need a family, that need a home. And so people that adopt, more power to them. And I'm also all about trying everything. Hay sobadoras que según, de hecho, yo antes de que, mira, te va a sobar el vientre y te va a sobar el lado de los ovarios, y la señora, en cuanto te soba, sales embarazada.
Yo sí creo en eso.
I would go visit that lady if I needed to, Creo en República Dominicana, no sé dónde, se llama Mama Juana o algo así. Son unas hierbas que también se toma y dice que funciona. Entonces, para mí, yo también, todo lo que me dijeran de eso, I would try it. Why not?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Mira, yo te voy a decir otra cosa. Yo me acuerdo muy bien, era una fiesta tuya que era de Halloween, ¿te acuerdas?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Sí, because of you, me embaracé, porque yo te dije a ti, like, ay, yo ya quiero tener un baby. You're like, ay, pues nomás levanta los pies. Y yo, no funciona.
I was like, let them come in you, and then just put your legs up for a little while. And she did it, guys.
And it works.
I had forgotten about that.
Everything.
I'm like that. I'm the type of person, mi mamá siempre me decía, tú te crees de todo. Te dicen que te pongas peanut butter en el brazo porque vas a bajar de peso and you'll do it. I'm like, hell yeah. Like, I will go see a sobadora somewhere in Mexico or find one here in LA. I'm like, I'm going to have a baby because I'm going to have a baby. The Lord is going to make it happen. I'm going to light a candle. O sea, so I agree with you. I was curious to see what you thought about that. And now let's talk about age, because I heard you right now. You were like, I'm not going to say how old I am. Do you feel that in our culture that they've made us feel the older we get, the less viable we are? Una vez un vato me dijo, no, yo me busco a chicas de 20 años porque pues son más fáciles para moldear a tu manera. Ya las de 30, o sea, nah. They just have their own mind. They have an attitude and this and that. And I was like, I looked at him. I was like, what? But it's true. When you're 30, you're like, I know who I am. I know what I want. ¿Y qué? Like for your age, do you feel like shit? Like, are you proud of it?
I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud of it porque siento que dejé pasar muchas cosas in my 20s again because you're immature, because you're more vulnerable for people to take advantage of you. Porque sientes de que no, pues lo que están diciendo es verdad. And when you hit 30, te vale madre lo que digan.
Sí.
A veces, obviamente, sí te afectan ciertas cosas, but you're kind of like, you know what? I'm not going to live my life amargada. Or no, you're not going to talk to me that way. Y sí, es cierto. Como dicen, la mula no era arisca, la hicieron. Y es cierto, las experiencias de la vida cuando estás joven te convierten en una persona que dices, no, yo no voy a tolerar nada de eso. Caderas. Y sí, los hombres obviamente sí van a batallar más con una mujer.
Sí, porque sabemos lo que queremos.
Claro, no vamos a quedarnos en una relación porque, ay, pues, ¿dónde voy a vivir? ¿Qué voy a hacer? We figure out a way. We're like hustlers. We're like, okay, no me voy a quedar en esta situación donde no soy feliz.
Yeah, and see, this is just my opinion, you guys. If you're listening to us and you're in your early 20s and you want to get married, and do whatever you want. My thing is, just think about it. Who you're going to marry and why. Si estás enamoradísima, do it. You know what I mean? O enamorado, igual, for a man or a woman. But that's why I feel men like younger women. Por esa razón. Antes sí me daba como vergüenza. I'd be a little bit like embarrassed, like, oh, my age. Now I'm like, fuck that. I'm 37. I'm very proud of what I've accomplished. I'm very proud of who I am. I feel better than ever. In my 20s, I thought I was popping. Now I'm like, I'm really popping, and my pussy's popping too, and it's beautiful. And I don't give a shit. I'm 37, but my vagina's like fucking 20. I don't know. It just, in your 30s is something else, you guys. Like, for so long, you were taught of like, oh my God, the older you get, you're not going to be as desirable and this and that. And you have to be young and get married young because that, all that is just, it's out of the window. And I think I have my mom to thank for that, because the older she got, she would always say, like in her 40s, she's like, I feel better than ever in my 40s. Like, she made me appreciate every year that I matured. Now I see it that way. I'm maturing. You know what I mean? I'm growing. I'm evolving. And I think that's another thing that once we have our panel show, Evelyn, that we've been wanting to do for years, we got to talk about, you know, embracing our age.
Siento que es importante porque yo también tengo tu edad, ya lo puedo decir al aire libre, ¿no? Pero siento que es nuestra responsabilidad de cambiar también la mentalidad de nuestras mamás o nuestras tías. Not force it,
sí,
but to be the example, because they can still change too, and they can still feel empowered too, and they can still walk away from miserable marriages, and they can still, you know, do surgery if they want to and enhance areas that they want to. Even with my mom, like, I can try different things. Like, oh, mamá, mira, te compré esta, you know, ponte esta blusa. Or like, vamos a comer aquí, or let's try this. Because I know our generation has a lot on our plate because we are the game changers for so many things, including the reality of having kids young. You know, we're not doing that now. And it's for the best. We have to let go of so many things we've been carrying through our ancestors.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always talk about it, like, you know, breaking generational curses. You know, it's okay to be different from the generation before us. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to be. I don't want to be exactly like them. I want to be different. I want to level up. And hopefully the generation to come, I want to teach them, inspire them. This is why I was like, it's perfect if I bring Evelyn, because we get each other. I was like, you know, I'm done with feeling like, oh my God, I'm not a mom yet. Shit, the clock is ticking. Se me está acabando el tiempo. And, you know, for the women that are listening to me, because you are, you know, you have your career, you're a wife, motherhood, like, can you talk to us about the realness of how difficult that is? Do you have days where you're like, shit, of course, not that, you know, you regret it. Of course not. That's not what I mean, because you love your son. I know how much you love your son, how much time you want to spend with him. But talk to us a little bit more about that.
It's really, really hard, especially when you were really good at something and then all of a sudden. So I feel like I'm either going to be really good at my job and kind of lack in motherhood, or I'm going to be a mother and slack off at my job. So I'd rather, right now that the baby's still young, my priority is being a great mother. So there's a lot of things, a lot of opportunities that I'm missing out on, I feel. But
that's your priority.
Yes. I want my baby to know that I'm around, that I love him. And I don't want him to grow up saying, yeah, you gave me everything, but you were never around. Obviously, we need to work, to provide. And nowadays, you really do need two incomes to survive, especially in the state of California for a mortgage and bills and everything. It's really hard when it comes down to balancing. And then talking about it, how hard it is also like a big thing, because then people start saying, pues yo tuve 5 y nadie me ayudaba y pues nunca me quejé. No, pues yo tuve 6 y mira, todos salieron bien y mi marido ni estaba ahí en el parto, ni ayudaban los hombres antes. Ahora por lo menos les ayudan a cambiar los pampers. So you're like, okay, I have one and I am complaining. Maybe I'll just shut up. Maybe I won't say how hard it is and I'll cry, in the shower by myself.
Yeah, no. Cuando tú estás trabajando, porque también tu esposo trabaja,
Sí.
¿quién te cuida al niño?
Y mi mamá me lo está cuidando ahorita.
Ah, gracias a Dios.
And I feel guilty too, because I know she wants to help me, but at the same time, I want her to have her freedom and I want her to be, with my dad or to do things, not just stay home for those hours that I'm working. But I'm very grateful because some people don't have family to help them out. And con los tiempos como están ahorita, yo verdad no confío en nadie. Ya que me pueda decir, que me pueda hablar, que me pueda decir, mamá, no me gusta quedarme aquí, or no, I don't want to stay here for whatever reason, then I think I'm going to feel better in just leaving him in daycare or in, una escuelita.
Yeah, no, pero qué bendición que tengas a tu mamá.
En verdad es demasiada ayuda. Pero mi mamá en verdad es mi única opción ahorita. Mis tías, las otras tienen nietos, mi otra tía cuida a mi abuelita. Entonces, si no está mi mamá, digo, ¿qué voy a hacer? ¿Cómo le hago?
Yeah.
Llegas al punto de dices, maybe I should leave work for a while and just take care of the baby. But then you're like, wait, no.
Yeah, well, I can imagine. And for sure, when I have my kids, I'm going to need you to help me through that and help me balance
Well,
it.
you're a great tia already. You're wonderful with kids.
I love kids.
There's no doubt in my mind you're going to be like an incredible, incredible mother. Now, the challenge for you, I think, is going to be balancing work, all the projects that you have, everything that you have going on. At first, when you're pregnant or when you're thinking of having kids, you're like, oh, no, I'm going to hire someone to help me. And I'm still going to, 3 months later, I'm going to be back to work. And then 3 months later comes.
That's what you think, huh?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You get so attached. I already know the type of mom I'm going to be, which is why I'm like, let me wait a little bit because I'm going to be straight up. I want to be a little selfish right now because I help raise my siblings. So yo siento que según yo sé lo que es tener un hijo o hijos, take them to school and this and that and the homework. And it's just, I feel like I've been through it all. Obvio, es diferente cuando tenga mis propios hijos, pero I just know. Do you have advice for new moms out there trying to find that balance? Anything that you can tell them?
Talk about your feelings. Don't hold anything in. Now I'm even more connected to like friends of mine that were moms that before I would be like, ay, nomás hablan de los hijos todo el tiempo. But now I get it, Sometimes you feel like you're all alone. And in reality, so many people are going through it. And you feel better when you hear how they're coping with situations and you find solutions to certain things by hearing other people's experiences. And you're never really prepared for motherhood. Porque a veces yo puedo decirte, sí, postpartum, it's real, pero a lo mejor hay mujeres que a lo mejor no van a pasar por eso. O sí está bien a lo mejor no traumarlas, que sepan que existe, pero tampoco que piensen que les va a pasar porque pues a veces no pasa, ¿verdad?
Mm-hmm.
And to, like I said in the beginning, make sure you're having children with the right person that is gonna treat you right, that you guys have the same values. And just, live life and love it. ¿Qué importa lo que diga la gente? La vida es muy cortita y si quieres tener hijos, si estás preparada, pues hazlo.
Mm-hmm. Evelyn, thank you. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for opening up your heart, for being just open about things that we go through as Latina women. And you guys, please follow her on social media. Plug it in. Where can they hear you on the radio, your social media, so that people can stay current with you?
Evelyn Sicairos. That's how you find me. And that's where you guys will see what I'm doing and, what I'm working on. And I'm going to embrace the process. And I think it's time to also take risks. Before I was in my comfort zone. Now I'm like, okay, tengo que hacer cambios en mi vida para crecer como persona y también pues darle más espacio a mi vida como mamá.
I love that, Evelyn. I cannot wait to see what you have brewing and the ideas that you have, because I know we've talked about a few, but I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. And for all of my regular listeners, you already know what time it is. It's time for our motivational quote. And this is a quote. Es una frase en español, mi gente. I think this is the first time that we have a Spanish quote. Ahí les va. Si la vida te tira al piso, date vuelta y mira las estrellas. O sea, si uno se cae, hay que levantarnos. Como decía mi mamá, si por pendeja me caigo, por chingona me levanto. Ahí les va. Thank you guys so much, Evelyn. I love you. Thank you so much, my listeners. I love you guys with all my heart. I will catch you on the next episode of Chiquis and Chill. Do you need advice on love, relationships, health, y más? I'm so excited to share with you that my Chiquis and Chill podcast will have an extra episode drop each week. I'll be answering all your questions. Just leave me a voice message con todas tus preguntas y yo te las voy a contestar personalmente. All you have to do is go to speakpipe.com/Chiquis and Chill podcast and record your questions. I can't wait to hear from you. This is a production of iHeartRadio and the My Cultura Podcast Network. Follow us on Instagram at My Cultura Podcast and follow me, Chiquis, that's CHIQUIS. For more podcasts from iHeart, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.